Hello, everyone, and welcome to the newest episode of MEERAcast, Wild Dreamer Productions' very own podcast, where we tell you everything that you need to hear, need to know about theatre, about dance, musicals, here in Australia, in New Zealand, and everywhere around the world. And I'm your host, I'm George, and I'm joined this week by Monica Pema. Monica, hi!
Hi, George. How are you going?
I am great, thank you so much for asking. How are you going, Monica?
I'm really good. I'm really excited about doing this podcast today.
I know, me too. We've been waiting the last kind of week or so to record this. I've been very excited, and I know that RTE has been dying to hear your perspective for what you get up to with the show. The show that's only now like what, a week away. It's like
I
so
know.
close. Getting so excited. But Monica, for people who might not know what you get up to in Wild Dreamer, or what you do, or how you're part of the team, introduce that for us. Tell us what you do.
Okay, so I am very privileged and very honored to be part of the Wild Dreamers team. My part that I play in this is varied. On the one hand, I'm part of the stage crew, which is absolutely wonderful. But the other part I play is also being available for each and every individual to be their big, powerful self. So, wherever there may be aspects which may be limiting them, or where they may come across different challenges, whether that's with their body or with their mind, I'm here for them to talk to. I also work with them hands on in terms of just letting go of whatever might be holding them back from being the best version of themselves.
Right, because that's all that we're here to do, really. A Wild Dreamer is work with these aspiring, amazing, talented upcoming professionals in the performing arts, and we don't want anything holding them back in any way, whether that be their dancing skills, whether that be their confidence, or anything else that might be holding them back. So you're
Absolutely.
there as that kind of as a support role to act as console, as just that extra step of guidance for people who might be struggling to think about things from the right perspective or the right way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome. So, how did you originally get into the Wild Dreamer team?
I'm very good friends with Barbara, who plays the universe in Mira. And she gave me a phone call and said, "Oh, Monica, you've just got to be a part of this whole production." And I said, "What are you talking about, Barbara?" And she said, "Your children are going to love this. And there's an audition tomorrow, and you've got to come along." And I was like, "Okay, I'll bring my kids along. I have three awesome children." And they were up for it. And so we went along to the audition, and there were, about 100 of us there, and the kids did their best in that audition, and they all got chosen to be part of the first production of Mira, and that's where I got to know a lot of new people, and that's where I met Arti as well.
Oh, that's awesome. So, who were your young aspiring performers from last year? Who did
So
they play in the show?
so they were all dancers in the show. So my two little ones were with all the young Mira and the Krishna, and my oldest one was dancing with the teenage crew.
That's so cool. And how was the show last year? Was it awesome to watch and especially see them perform on stage too?
It was absolutely mind blowing. The amount of time and energy that everybody put into the show last year was second to none. Everyone gave their best, and Arti held the space very, very well for each to showcase every single individual. And what was wonderful was I remember standing on the stage after the show when all the audience were applauding, and I was looking at not just the audience's reaction, but also the cast and the crew's reaction, and there was just so much love in the air both ways. It was just amazing. I had tears in my eyes.
It was. I think it was that just loving, passionate perspective from those on stage, just loving what they're doing. We've spoken to people like Ashani who just love dancing and letting it out, and to do it on to do it on stage in front of thousands of people was such a powerful and amazing moment for our cast, but then to also, from the audience's perspective, to love that just amazing and such unique show and story that's never been kind of shown or told before.
Absolutely. And how wonderful that, there were a lot of people in the crowd that didn't even know the story of Mira, but they sort of said, okay, I really like the idea of this. I wonder what it's all about. So they allowed themselves to go into that wonder and experience Mira in its fullest. And I don't think anybody was disappointed.
No, because what an experience it was. Like, whether it was all these amazing aspiring performers on stage doing what they love, whether it was this twisting and unique story that's never really been heard or told before,
Yeah.
all these amazing aspiring awe-aspiring costumes, like these golden wings that are flapping on stage. It's just a magnificent sight.
Absolutely. And taking we all know certain stories, but actually allowing ourselves to go into the unknown and experience a story from a whole different perspective with so many different personalities and cultures, all coming together, working as one big family. I don't know, it's unheard of, really.
It is because I think that something we can maybe hold true is that obviously like Indian cultures and Indian stories, obviously Mirror is an Indian story, but they're quite this resting and like there's a lot of family principles that go with that, and you can only learn kind of so much from the box that you're within, and if you are visiting and watching like movies or Western kind of theater shows or not even ones that touch on different areas of the globe. Mirror is one that touches all around the world with so many different areas around the globe, and it just creates this kind of this festering kind of family of just passion and awe-inspiring motivation to make this just amazing show that can give people these perspectives and insights that normally they may never have seen or been a part of before.
That's right. And I think the beauty of Mirror is that even though its background is embedded in, from India in the 16th century, the themes and the story that it actually runs through is actually alive for all of us today.
Mm.
There's many aspects of what gets shown in the production and what everybody experiences that we all have in our lives. It's something we can all relate to.
It is. It's whether it's love, whether it's chasing after someone that just feels like the one, whether it's dealing with twists and turns along the way, people trying to stab you in the back. It is. It's
Right.
these are all kind of story tidbits that exist in stories, plays, movies, and shows all around the world. Except this is just this globally influenced, globally palatable, as Artie says, twist and a take on the story.
Absolutely. Totally multicultural.
It is. It is. Now, Monica, a bit more about what you do because you have such a fascinating role in Wild Dreamer production, such a privileged role to be able to support our team so closely and so intimately on their journey. But for people who might not know fully what you do, I know that your role in Wild Dreamer is our psychologist and
Yes.
kinesiologist. Can you fill us in a bit on what that is?
Oh, absolutely. So, my initial background was in business psychology, and then I sort of studied holistic kinesiology. And the one thing with psychology, which is absolutely brilliant, is it really does work very much with the mind. And the wonderful thing about kinesiology is it works with the mind, body, and the spirit. So in the skills that I bring to Wild Dreamers is bringing those two aspects together, so the body and the mind, because neither one can work without the other. If our mind is so powerful, right? So when we think thoughts, it really has an influence on how we feel. So those thoughts sometimes can be challenging or negative. So we could be limiting ourselves, or we could be fearful, or we could not feel so good about something. And that's going to influence how we feel in our body. And then sometimes our body doesn't work as well. Sometimes we have challenges where we can't stretch as much as we want to, or we have headaches, or we have aspects of our body that holds us back, and then that affects our mind. So I work with individuals who come to me and say, well, this is what's going on for me. How do I come back into balance? How do I come back into my center? So, a lot of what I do on a one to one and also a group level is actually raising that vibration within them. So, where something may be familiar to them, helping them to, to get to the place where they feel comfortable with the unfamiliar. And I always say our internal environment reflects our external, and our external reflects our internal. So it doesn't matter where it's coming from, whether it's inside of ourselves or whether it's outside of ourselves, it's affecting us.
So it's almost like that seems like that perfect marrying, because something you mentioned, which I think rings so true, is that the mind, like the body is there to support the mind and the mind is there to support the body. And they both work in such a succinct harmony with one another. And I guess that's where your area of study and expertise comes in, because you're able to have that kind of full, well-rounded view to where someone can come to you with a challenge or an issue that they're facing, and you can really get to the root cause of where it's stemming from.
Yes, absolutely. And that is the key really, is to get to the bottom of what story is being kept alive inside of them to to um to make them say that or feel that or behave in that way, because there'll be some story that they're holding on to, for example, of I don't know, not being good enough. You know, we all have times where we might look around and not feel good enough, but where does that actually come from? And each individual story is very different. But when we forward back into the present time, who is the person that's actually keeping that story alive? It's usually us. So
Absolutely.
if we can get to a point where we are really clear in our intentions of how we want to be in the present and how we want our future to be, then our past doesn't hold us back. And I guess I'm a real advocate in Wild Dreamers for being that person for each and every individual, each and every artist, so that their past doesn't hold them back and they can move through and just be the best that they can be.
Absolutely. And we're talking about this right now in context of our dancers and our performance and team at Wild Dreamer. But this exact same process and philosophy would apply to just real life as well. Is, hey, just getting to the bottom of those issues and addressing them directly.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when I work with individuals or groups, you know, I work with people from all walks of life, and that could be a 5-year-old child to, you know, my oldest client is 95 years old, and she's still going for that personal development, which is wonderful, you know, because she's not allowing her internal environment or her external environment to hold it back, and she's just meeting her goals at every point.
You know, that sounds a bit familiar. Like we have one of our aerial dancers, Rob, I believe his name might be, who's performing this year, and he is like 67, and but not stopping, holding him back from developing himself, from pursuing his passion and performing on stage. There's never an age or a finish line on development or focusing on what you love and love doing.
Absolutely. I can't wait to meet him.
I know it's going to be great. It's going to be an awesome show, and especially I can't wait to see. We only had one aerial artist in our show last year, but this year we have so many. It's going to be great. There's going to be people flying all over the stage and looking fantastic. But have you ever used your expertise on a project like this before? Obviously, you've talked a bit about some of the clients well, not some of the clients, but the clients that you've worked with, the type of clients. Have you ever worked on a theater show and supporting people in this capacity?
You know, George, I haven't, and this is totally cutting edge. I feel that, it's something that's so important, like you said, in every aspect. All organizations, um, you know, should have somebody there that looks after, mindfulness, for each of their individuals. So the fact that Wild Dreamer Productions has got me on board to be an advocate for that, for all their artists, is absolutely amazing.
It is. It's so cool, and we just want to be able to. I know that I've spoken with Artie a bit about this. Is we just want to be able to support our artists, our cast and team as much as possible, and mental health and supporting one's mental well-being is just as important as ensuring and securing their personal safety and personal health and safety. It's to us, it's the mind is just as important as an organ, as a bone, or protecting any other part of the body. So it is. It's that kind of final but also quintessential piece to the supporting our team puzzle.
Oh, absolutely. And it's a really holistic approach. And that's what I love about Aarti and Wild Dreamer Productions and everyone that's involved in it. We really are one big family.
We are. Now, obviously, taking a very holistic approach, we hear lots of different tips and advices all the time that you should be eating 5 pieces of fruit a day, eating 2 or 8 glasses of water, drinking water, not eating water. So even I'm getting muddled up with all the different things to remember. But whether it's for real life or even especially for our performers that'll be performing on stage, do you have, is there one that, in your perspective, is just more important than anything else? Something to keep in mind, whether it's taking a minute to 2 minutes every day to just sit and consolidate your thoughts. Is there something that is easy that we can all do, but can have such a powerful impact on us?
There's many tips, George. But I guess one that's really important is to give yourself 1 minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes or more just to come back into your center. So that could be just focus on your breathing and come back to the present, to right now, to where you're at and what's going on, and just breathe into that space. You can take it another step and you could meditate. But we don't always have time to meditate. So even if we just allow ourselves to take a few deep breaths and just come back into the present moment, then we can come from a place of clarity.
I agree, and I think it also comes down to in that is finding what works for you. I personally have an Apple Watch, and there's an app on there called Breathe, and you can set it to remind you like once or a couple of times a day to just take
Yes.
that moment of mindfulness and just sit and focus on your breathing. Or I know actually very blessed for my 21st birthday that was a few months ago. Zara and Barbara, the Prestillas, part of
Yeah.
our Australia production team, they actually got me some very beautiful meditation beads
Yeah.
where you can like sit and play with them as you sit and think about your day. So I think it is about just finding what works for you, whether it's that, whether it's something like some relaxing classical music.
That's
But
speaking
I
of
think,
all. Yes.
yeah, absolutely. And I think it's something that everyone can do, but also especially for our performers with the show coming up, especially if we are nervous, if we're got the pre-show nerves the night before, is just take those few minutes by yourself, just sit out, just relax, just
That's
have.
right. And breathe and do deep belly breaths. Deep belly breaths. Yeah.
And what do deep belly breaths help with?
So that just helps to, when we you could call it a yoga breath, where we just breathe in through our nose and we take our breath all the way down to our belly button, and we hold the breath there for a second, and then we slowly let go through our nose again. So that just allows us to just be present to ourselves. So much going on around us, but just taking a moment to do a few little belly breaths just helps us to become present. And, you know, we can then allow ourselves to go, actually, you know what, that's not really anything I need to worry about, because I've been practicing this for such a long time. I know what I need to do.
And I actually just did a good belly breath then when you were talking through it, and I just almost breathed out this just almost not a sigh of relief, but just a sigh of felt like relaxation and just falling that little bit deeper into a more chill state.
Being chilled at every moment in time, I think, is a prerequisite for all of us.
I think so too. But and the cast, they're all coming together well. Everyone is looking ready and amazing ahead of the show.
Absolutely. I was at a rehearsal because I'm based on the Gold Coast. I was at a rehearsal on Sunday, and I hadn't seen some of the changes that sort of have occurred for the show in Auckland, and I was sitting there, and I nearly had tears in my eyes. I had goosebumps all up my arms. It's just, I just can't wait for everybody to watch the show, because it is going to be absolutely out of this world amazing.
It is. It is. There's been changes from almost every angle that you can look at, but only changes to make the show just that much more impressive, that
Ah,
much deeper and richer. So totally, totally. And you'll be there. You'll be there this year in
yes,
just about a
yes.
week's time.
Yes, in a week's time, the Gold Coast crew are going to fly over to Auckland, and we finally get to meet all the Auckland crew, which I'm really really excited about. You know, we've seen all the text messages and we've seen all the photos, but it'd be really nice to actually be present with them, and you know, and give them a hug and just connect together. Yeah, to create what's going to be created next week.
Absolutely, it is. And I know that they can't wait to see us, but also see and give you a big hug as well. I'm sure that'll be happening. But Monica, thank you so much for your time today. It's been really great to actually hear your perspective and something that you don't normally hear about, something that you don't normally hear companies, let alone production companies, these focusing and taking that stance on. So thank you for sharing what you do. I know that people will really value hearing it.
Thank you, George. It was a pleasure.
And for everyone else who hasn't got their tickets yet, or knows someone who is still kind of on the edge, or has got some friends thinking about looking for a theatre show, then definitely head to our websites where you can get our tickets, or you can Google Mirror Auckland. It is not long now until the show. We are in our final countdown to perform at the ASB Waterfront Theatre in Auckland. So everyone can get their tickets now, right, Monica?
Absolutely. Get online, share it with your friends, let everyone know about it, because it is going to be out of this world.
It is. We both can't wait to see it again. But Monica, thank you so much once again, and we'll be seeing everybody soon.
Thanks, George. Bye.